The white coat ceremony was initiated in 1993 at Columbia University Medical School and has now been expanded to more than 100 medical and dental schools worldwide. Our dental school hosted the white coat ceremony 12 years ago in year 2000. The white coat ceremony is a symbolic rite of passage for beginning dental students to help establish a psychological contract for professionalism and empathy in the practice of dentistry. The event emphasizes the importance of both scientific excellence and compassionate care for the patient. Each incoming first-year student will be individually cloaked with a white coat from a faculty member representing their teachers who are welcoming them into the profession, and introduced by upperclassmates representing the future of the colleagues. We will now begin the ceremony.
I would like to introduce Dr. Anne Meyer, who will be our first cloaker. She's a faculty member.
I am very proud to introduce my wonderful sister, Anne Adamson, who is from Cadillac, Michigan, and attended North Central College, Illinois. It is also my pleasure to introduce Eduardo Aguilar Padilla from Rochester, New York, who attended SUNY Brockport.
I'd like to introduce to you my friend, a fellow Binghamton alumnus, and Long Islander, Robert Atwell.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Don Antonsen.
I would like to introduce Myunghyun Brian Bae. He's from Seoul, South Korea, and he graduated from UB.
I would like to introduce my friend Laura Barris from New Hartford, New York, and she attended the University of Buffalo. It is my pleasure to introduce a fellow Staten Islander, Kristen Crudy, a graduate of College of Staten Island.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Carlos Munoz from the School of Dental Medicine.
It's my pleasure to introduce a fellow Canadian, Lisa Chang from York University.
It is my pleasure to introduce Sabrina Chang, my little sister, a graduate from Barnard College, and her hometown is Syosset, New York. Sorry. It is my pleasure to introduce Nathan Cronister, a graduate from Geneseo.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Scott McCall from the School of Dental Medicine.
It is my pleasure to introduce Mitchell Costa from Fairport, New York. He attended SUNY Geneseo. It is also my pleasure to introduce Laura Deolia from Huntington, Long Island. She attended Stony Brook.
It is my pleasure to introduce my friend and fellow Binghamton alumnus, Roshan Desai, who's from Coram, New York.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Violet Harasti from the School of Dental Medicine.
It is also my pleasure to introduce Dan DePiro from Orchard Park, New York, a graduate of SUNY Buffalo. It's my pleasure to introduce Aaron English from Livonia, Michigan, and who graduated from Brigham Young University in Idaho.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Mary Bush, School of Dental Medicine faculty.
It is my pleasure to introduce a native of Lindenhurst, New York, and graduate of SUNY Stony Brook, Vincent Fracalbieri.
My pleasure to announce Brandon Freeland from Conklin, New York, graduate of University of Buffalo. Also my pleasure to introduce Ben Freeberg from Hillsboro, Oregon, graduate of Oregon State University.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Kendra Zappia, UB class of 2006, to cloak her sister.
Introducing a fellow Siena College graduate hailing from Mechanicville, New York, Morgan Fryer.
I am proud to present to you Adam Gailey from Beaver, Pennsylvania, and he attended Allegheny College.
It's my pleasure to introduce Gretchen Galvin from Penn Yan, New York. She is a graduate of Syracuse University.
Proud to introduce Dan Gasparini, all the way from Wappingers Falls, New York, a graduate of SUNY Oneonta.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Ray Miller from the School of Dental Medicine faculty.
It's also my honor to introduce Martin Gorkowitz from Orchard Park, New York, a graduate of the University of Buffalo.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you Jean Laurie Guevara of New Milford, New Jersey. She is a graduate of the Ramapo College of New Jersey.
It's my pleasure to announce Patricia Hackett Swanson from Huntington, New York, and a graduate of SUNY Geneseo.
is my pleasure to introduce Hoda Hai. She graduated from UB with a degree in biomedical sciences.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Christian Mitchell, UB class of 2011, to cloak his fiancée.
It is my pleasure to introduce Lindsay Hall. She graduated from UB with a bachelor's in biomedical sciences and a master's in oral biology.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Santi Hopej from the University of Sri Lanka, 1978, to cloak her daughter.
It is my pleasure to introduce Samantha Hoppage. She's from Jericho, New York, and graduated at Stony Brook University with a degree in biology. She also has a master's in oral biology.
It's my pleasure to introduce Dane Hendry, originally from Lethbridge, Alberta, and a graduate of the University of Saskatchewan.
It's my pleasure to introduce Cara Hill from Batavia, New York, and a graduate of University of Buffalo.
It is my honor to introduce Rick Hill from San Diego, California, a graduate from University of Arizona.
It's my pleasure to introduce Miss Megan Hollab from Medford, New York, and a graduate of the University of Miami.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Terrence Hurley, UB class of 1986, to cloak his daughter.
I'd like to introduce Miss Erin Hurley of Horseheads, New York, and a graduate of the University of Notre Dame.
It is my pleasure to introduce Hussein Kalamuddin from Queens, New York, graduate from Stony Brook University. It is also my pleasure to introduce Sarah Kaplan from New City, New York, graduate from Smith College.
And our next cloaker is Dr. William J. Kelly, Jr., UB class of 1958, to cloak his granddaughter.
Right on.
Yep.
It is my pleasure to introduce Carrie Kelly from Oswego, New York, who graduated from SUNY Fredonia.
And our next cloaker is Dr. David Braun. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to introduce Daniel Kim. He's from Douglas, New York, and graduate from Boston University. It's also my pleasure to introduce Emiliana Jesus Kim. She's from Selma, North Carolina. She graduated from Anne Meyer College.
I'm proud to introduce you Il-sung Kim from Seoul, Korea, graduated from University at Buffalo.
Graduating from SUNY Fredonia, I'd like to proudly present my little brother, Stephen Kalinda from Oswego, New York.
I am honored to introduce Erica Levere to the class of 2015. Erica is from Rochester, New York, and attended Syracuse University.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Ivan Lee, UB class of 1984, to cloak his daughter.
First, I'd like to introduce Michelle Lee from Manhattan. She attended the University at Buffalo. I'm also happy to introduce Ona Liu from Queens. She attended the City College of New York.
It's my pleasure to introduce La Hermosa Constanza Lopez Leal from Mexico City, Mexico, and she graduated from Florida Gulf Coast University.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you Katora Lowe from Yonkers, New York, and alumni of New York University.
It is my pleasure to introduce Megan Manizero from Manalapan, New Jersey, a graduate of the University of North Carolina, Wilmington.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Don Antonsen.
I would also like to introduce Ariane Mazloon from Santa Barbara, from the University of California, Santa Barbara.
It is my pleasure to introduce David Mcleod from Buffalo, New York, a graduate of the University at Buffalo.
I am pleased to introduce Joshua McPhee from Salt Lake City, alumni of University of Utah, majoring in economics. I am also pleased to introduce Douglas Messick from Idaho Falls, Idaho, graduate of BYU.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Robert Braun, Louisiana State University class of 1985.
I am most pleased to announce Dan Miller of Manassas, Virginia, from West Virginia University. It truly is a great day to be a Mountaineer.
It is my pleasure to introduce Peter Muller Marquez from Rochester, New York. He graduated from SUNY Brockport and the University of South Florida.
It
It's my pleasure to introduce to you Wesley Nelson from Nyack, New York, and a graduate of Boston University. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Phoebe Nguyen from Los Angeles, California, a graduate of UCLA.
It's my pleasure to introduce from Mesa, Arizona, a graduate of Arizona State University, Mr. Craig Nicholas.
And our next cloaker is Dr. David Braun, UB class of 1988, to cloak his son.
It is also my pleasure to introduce from West Seneca, New York, a graduate of Canisius College, Mr. Christopher Nowak.
And our next cloakers are Doctors Kenneth Nozick and Myron Nozick, UB classes of 1984 and 1958, respectively, to cloak their daughter and granddaughter, respectively.
It is my pleasure to introduce Miss Ashley Nozick from Rochester, New York. Ashley is a graduate of Virginia Tech State University.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Joseph Zambon from the UB School of Dental Medicine.
It's my pleasure to introduce and say Bruchim Habaim to Ze'ev Orndlicher from Beersheba, Israel. Went to SUNY Purchase in Westchester, New York.
I am honored to introduce Linda Penn from Queens, New York, who received her BS in biochemistry from Skidmore College. I am also honored to introduce Parth Parekh from Albany, New York, who also received his BS he received his BS in biomedical sciences from the University of Buffalo.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Robert Geckler from the School of Dental Medicine.
It is my privilege to introduce Todd Peterson from Fairport, New York, graduated from the Rochester Institute of Technology.
It is my pleasure to introduce Valerie Peng from Markham, Ontario, Canada, graduate from the University of Toronto.
It is my honor to introduce Diane Piccioni from Syracuse, New York. She graduated from Syracuse University.
And our next cloaker is Dr. William Promomo, UB class of 1982, to cloak his niece.
I'm honored to introduce my friend Patricia Promomo from Del Mar, New York, a graduate of the University of Albany.
It
It is my honor to introduce my best friend, Joanna Buffnack, from our hometown of Geneva, New York. She has a dental hygiene degree from MCC and a BS in biology from the University of Buffalo, and today is also her mother's birthday. Happy birthday, lady.
It is my honor to introduce Richard Ross from Red Hook, New York. He graduated from Hartwick College.
It is my honor to introduce Sanel Sadi Basic, originally from Bosnia, graduated from the University of Buffalo.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Greg Sager, New York University class of 1980, to cloak his daughter.
It is also my honor to introduce my friend Juliana Sager from Del Mar, New York, graduated from Binghamton University.
It is my pleasure to introduce Jonathan Sachai from Roslyn, New York, graduate from Cornell University.
It is my pleasure to introduce my new friend Mark Sarek from Stony Creek, Ontario, graduate of Canisius College.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Peter Nickerson from the UB School of Medicine.
It's my pleasure to introduce Narissa Singh from Hapa, New York, a graduate of SUNY Farmingdale.
I'm happy to introduce Eric Smith from Beaverton, Oregon, graduated from Brigham Young University.
It's my pleasure to introduce a graduate of St. Bonaventure University from Hubleton, New York, Jared Smithers.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Don Antonsen, a familiar face.
From Cheektowaga, New York, graduate of the Rochester Institute of Technology, please give a warm hometown welcome to Stephanie Solberg.
It is my honor to introduce, from Raymond, Alberta, Canada, and a graduate of the University of Lethbridge, Sean Stevenson.
It is my pleasure to introduce Sapna Tucker. She is from Long Island, New York, and she graduated from SUNY Farmingdale. It is also my pleasure to introduce Matthew Turner. He is from Buffalo, New York, and he graduated from SUNY Geneseo.
It is my honor to introduce Girija B.J. Raghavan from Victor, New York, and she has a master's from UC San Diego.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Mario Violante Jr., UB class of 1976, to cloak his son.
It's my pleasure to introduce a graduate from St. Vincent College with a master's degree from UB in oral biology from Youngstown, New York, Tim Violante.
It is my pleasure to introduce Katie Wu, who is from Syracuse, New York, and graduated from the University of Buffalo with a degree in biological sciences.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Brian Weber from the Columbia University class of 1977 to cloak his daughter.
I'm pleased to introduce Mariel Weber from Roslyn Heights, New York. She graduated from SUNY Genesee. I'm also pleased to announce Tim Wentworth from Webster, New York. He graduated from Alfred University.
It is my pleasure to introduce John McPhee Willis from Portland, Maine, and a graduate of Gordon College.
It is also my pleasure to introduce Amanda Wilson from Port Jervis, New York. She graduated with her bachelor's degree in biological sciences from the University of Buffalo, and she also completed a master's degree in public health from Boston University.
And our next cloaker is Dr. Brian Winslow, UB class of 1982, to cloak his son.
I'm happy to introduce from Webster, New York, and a graduate of the beautiful Merciers College, Andrew Winslow.
It is my honor to introduce Al-Shaheen Yusuf from Rockville Center, New York, and he graduated with a degree in biomedical sciences from Fordham University.
And our last cloaker is Dr. David Braun, UB class of 1983 in this case, and also UB faculty member.
I am very excited to announce Min Yi Zhang from Brooklyn, New York. She is from University of Buffalo. And I'm also very pleased to announce Hassan Zia from Buffalo, New York, who's also a graduate from University of Buffalo.
It is my pleasure to introduce Jessica Zanatti from Buffalo, New York, and a graduate of the University of Buffalo. It is also my pleasure to introduce Michelle Zaccolello from Syracuse, New York, and graduate of Lemoyne College.
And let's give all our new students a hand.